So how to reduce your business relying on you in 5 easy stages. And it's one of those things that I think is so important, as you build your business, is to work out how to make it so it doesn't rely on you. If you're ever thinking of selling your business, then it's going to increase the value of your business. If you're ever sick or can't work, well, of course, your business will continue to create income for you if it doesn't rely on you being there. And one of the biggest challenges I see so many people that are faced with is that their business does totally rely on them. Now, I want you just to, first of all, get that clear in your mind that if your business relies on you being there, you don't have a business. What you have is a job, a job, or what I like to call a just over broke. And usually there's more month at the end of the money than there is money at the end of the month. And it's not a good place to be, all right? And if you were to get sick or something was to happen to you, then you have to ask yourself, would I still get an income? Would I still be able to pay my mortgage or pay my bills, feed my family, live my life? And if the answer is no, then you really need to start working on building a business. Now, not that there's anything wrong with being self-employed. Many of us are, and it's okay to be self-employed, but it's good to recognize that if your business relies on you, that you need to have insurances or things in place. So if something does happen, you're at least got some protection in place. But today is all about going from being self-employed to being business owner and building a business that doesn't rely on you having to be there. Now, a couple of things I wanted to quick tell you about my goals today. First of all, is that I'm not going to try and sell you anything today. I know a lot of webinars and presentations end with some sort of a limited offer sales pitch. The good news is my webinars don't work that way. And if you've been on any of my webinars before, if you know me from my presentations, I'm very big on just giving you a huge amount of value. And then at the end, I will give you the opportunity to connect with me if you want to find out more, or if you want to see if I can help you with your particular business or circumstances. So you can rest easy, grab a pen and paper, knowing that that's the first thing. I do have a few other goals today that I'm just going to quickly talk to you about. First of all, one of the things I want to help you do is break some of your bad habits. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that you're where you're at because of the habits that you have. And some of those are bad habits. We all have them. And today I want to break some of those. The reason that you're not where you want to be is because you've allowed it to happen. And you want to stop that from happening. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about that today. I'm also going to show you how simple it is to build an amazing business. I'm quite fortunate. I've been in business since I was 18, and I've learnt, unfortunately, the hard way, but I'm now in a position where I understand how simple it is. And, there was a time I overcomplicated it, and I'm sure that maybe you are as well. So I'm going to talk you through today about how simple it is. The 5 stages are very simple to follow, and it's a step-by-step process for building a business. The third thing is I'm going to show you where you should focus your time and energy to get the best possible results in your business. So you're not putting your time into things that aren't going to give you a return on the investment of your time, but rather you're putting them into the things that are going to definitely give you, pay dividends. And it might not be where you think you need to spend your time. So it could be a bit of a surprise to you. Alrighty. Now, if you haven't met me before, this is a bit about me. Started my first business at the age of 18, built and sold my first multi-million-dollar business by 28. Published author and podcast host. I've worked with hundreds of businesses in dozens of different industries, everything from wholesale, retail, manufacturing to service-based businesses, whether it was professional-based or trade services. And so I've worked across the whole gamut of different industries. And I can tell you that after presenting and training to thousands of businesses across the world, that what I'm going to teach you today works in every single business. There's no one business that is different when it comes to the fundamentals. Yes, what you sell might be different, and the service that you provide might be different. But let me tell you that every business is the same. You want to get sales, you need leads to do that, you need customers, you need to be profitable, and you need it to be easy, right? So every business is the same. I'm co-founder of Max My Profit, which is our business coaching and trading business, and author of the Business Acceleration Blueprint, which I'm going to share with you today, a part of that blueprint. And like I said, 20 years of business coaching, in fact, in my 21st year next year. So I've been doing this a long, long time. Alrighty. So before I do get stuck into talking to you a bit about covering things off today, a lot of people get a little bit worried about how, what knowledge do you actually need? Well, I've got no degrees. I didn't go to university. I didn't even finish school. And what I say is, if I can do it, you can do it too. And that's the good news about building a business. So, before you think, oh, but Ben, you're different, or those people that are successful are different, anybody can do this if you just follow a step-by-step process. In fact, I think that what I've built is about as close as you can get to like an instruction manual for growing a business. And I'm sure you'll agree by the time we get to the end of today's presentation. First of all, what I'll get you to do is just jot down for me in the chat box. So you're looking for the chat box in the bottom in your control panel. So if you're watching this live, obviously if you're doing this as a recording, you can just write this down or think about it in your head. But I want to know, why did you start your business in the first place? Can you just put that in the chat box for me? Why did you start your business in the first place? I'll give you, 20 seconds. In the chat box, why did you start your business in the first place? What were you hoping to achieve? Waiting on those chats to come through. And I can guarantee I probably could pre-guess what you're going to type in. Here we go. All right, let's have a look. To grow it and sell it. Oh, I like that one. Nice one, Pania. Anybody else got theirs? To be my own boss. That's a pretty popular one. Freedom. Okay. All right, well, let me share with you what I've got here. More time, more money, freedom, be my own boss. So they're pretty the typical answers that I get. And most people start their business for being better off or having a more enjoyable life, or, they're looking to improve something about their actual life. Yet 8 out of 10 fail. That not one of you said you started your business to fail. And yet I'm yet to meet a business person that said I started my business to fail, yet so many fail. I don't know, have you heard this stat before, that 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years? Well, they reckon only a very small percentage make it to 20 years. And so the reality is that if so many fail and nobody goes into business to fail, we have to start asking ourselves why. Why is it that so many businesses fail? And do you have an answer for that? What do you think it is? Why do you think so many businesses fail? Once again, jump in the chat box or answer it in your head. But whilst you're thinking about that, here's what I'll tell you that I've learned in 20 years of working with business owners. First of all, being good at what you do is not enough for you to succeed. So you might be the best on the planet, what it is you do. You might have the best product. It's not enough to be successful. And this one here is Kodak's digital camera that sort of got shelved, and then they went broke. So, having the best product or being the best at what you do does not guarantee success. And even more, being passionate about what you do also does not guarantee success. Now, I've met a lot of people that are super, super passionate about what it is they do. Unfortunately, not enough to be successful. So let's just wrap that up. Being good at what you do, having the best product or service, or being passionate about what you do is not enough to succeed, right? And that's why 8 out of 10 people fail, because they come into their business because they're good at what they do or they love what they do. And instead of actually upskilling themselves on how to build a business, they fail. And so they fail, and it's never fun, but it happens a lot. And here's why. Most businesses fail because they run out of money. And if you think about the fundamentals of a great business has great cash flow and great profitability. And so that's why I've come up with this formula. So here's a little exercise for you to do. Rank yourself out of 10, 10 being really good and 0 being terrible for cash flow, and the same thing for profitability. And you should get yourself a score out of 100. So for example, if you have great cash flow, let's say it's an 8 out of 10, and you have great profits, it's a 10 out of 10. Well, that would be 80 out of a possible 100. If you have bad cash flow, let's say it's 2 out of 10, and you have okay profits, let's say it's a 5 out of 10, well, that's 10 out of a possible 100. And so I like to use this as a real high level gauge for people to be able to ascertain where is their business at from survival mode. Is it going to survive or not? Because if you have bad cash flow and bad profits, you've got a bad business. If you've got average cash flow and average profits, you've got an average business. If you've got no cash flow and no profits, you've got no business. But if you've got great cash flow and great profits, then you've got a great business, right? So you can sort of look at this formula with a number or with some sort of terminology to help you sort of determine where you're at. But I can tell you the reason why 80% of businesses fail is not because they're good at what they're not good at what they do, not because they're not passionate about what they do, but because they don't know how to manage the money in their business. And that's a big part of it. You do need cash flow. You do need profitability. It's a bit like the dashboard on your car. You need to be able to keep track of those things. We'll talk about that shortly. Now, Ray Kroc, have you heard that name? Ray Kroc was the founder of the McDonald's franchise. So the McDonald's brothers started the restaurant, but Ray Kroc was the guy that came up with the idea to grow it into something much bigger. And he said, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. And so one of the things that you need to know is that you need to be learning all the time. And The only difference between those that succeed and those that don't is their knowledge. That's really it, right? We all start on the same starting blocks, but there are some that are more successful because they've learned what not to do and what to do. And so you have to learn new skills. If you're going to build a business, it's different to being employed. So as I said at the beginning, a lot of people are self-employed, and that's okay if you're okay with that. But if you actually want to build a business that doesn't rely on you having to be there, you will need to learn some new skills. And so today I'm going to give you some of those skills, but today I can only give you so much in a 1 hour webinar. You're going to have to go and learn some new skills. It's going to take a bit of time. But what I have learned over all my years of working with people is a 5-stage process that will work for pretty much any business. And I'm going to share that with you today. These 5 stages are easy to follow. I've broken them all down into step-by-step so you can really understand what you need to work on your business. And it's called the Business Acceleration Blueprint. And I've trademarked this because I think it's such a great tool that, I wanted to make sure that I protected it so I can continue to build on it and other people can't, water it down, because this tool is something that I've developed with my business partner after 20 years of coaching literally thousands and thousands of people on how to grow their business. So very high level, you can see there on the screen, we start with the foundations, which is the building blocks. We then work into the growth phase. We then optimize, which is about systemizing all the repetitive tasks in your business. We then want to transition from working on the business. And this is where we grow a leadership team and make it so it doesn't rely on us having to be there. And then we diversify. And diversify is where we go into other products or services, other businesses, maybe we open up other outlets, but I'll talk a bit more about that shortly. So foundations is where you want to start. Now, having said that, foundations is where most people skip. And by skipping the basic fundamentals, they actually set themselves up for failure. And so we're going to talk about that for a fair bit right now. Just get stuck straight into the foundations. Now you can see there it says get control of your time, finances, plans, and reporting, and make sure your business is structured for growth, which is what today's webinar is all about. And so if you want to structure your business for growth, there are some key things that you have to do to make sure that as it grows, it's not going to take more of your time. Because if you think about what happens when you first start your business, what's the very first thing that you have to do after you set up your business name and you've opened the doors day one? What's the first thing you have to do? Well, you have to get some customers. And that becomes a bit of an urgency, because without the customers, we have no income. Without any income, we can't pay our bills, right? So if you look at Maslow's hierarchies of needs, survival is one of those high up on the list. And so you go out there and you get yourself some customers. Well, what happens, because you're good at what you do or you're passionate about what you do, as those customers come in, you start doing the work. And when you start doing the work, you stop doing what? Exactly. You stop doing the marketing. If you stop doing the marketing, what happens? The business starts to taper off, the growth slows down or stops, or worse, the business starts to decline in sales until you panic, and then you go through that cycle again. And this is what we see so often. And so what we want to do is we structure the business so as it grows and you get busy, you're able to recruit more people and continue that growth path. And we'll talk a bit about that very, very short. Well, right now we'll go through that. So when it comes to structuring your business for growth, you need to understand that there are 4 key areas of your business that you need to build systems for, and KPIs, which is key performance indicators. We'll talk about those very shortly. Those 4 key areas is marketing, or what we call lead generation. So your business needs to be able to predictably and consistently generate leads, regardless of whether or not you are doing it. So you need to systemize that process. So you need good marketing. You need to understand who your ideal customer is. You need to understand what you're prepared to pay for that lead. That section of your business needs to be working really well, and someone needs to be held accountable for running the lead generation or the marketing on a consistent basis. The second area of your business that needs to be well systemized and organized is then the sales process. So generating leads is one thing, but you need to be able to then convert those people into a customer. So that's another area of your business that needs to be clearly documented and KPI set for. The third area of your business, which is the area you're probably strongest is in delivery or operations. Okay, most people, when they start their business, 80% or 90% of their talent is in the operations, because they're good at what they do, right? If I was a like a plumber, I'll probably start a plumbing business, and I'll probably be very strong at doing the plumbing, but maybe weak in other areas of the business. So operations is normally the one we don't need to do much work on. And then the fourth area of the business that needs to be structured properly is the business side. So business administration, HR, systemization, etc. So that needs to be really done. So your business has to be structured. So that's a bit like an organizational chart. Each area of your business needs to be documented with KPIs and be really clear about what the roles and responsibilities are in that area for it to succeed. The second thing you need as a business owner is you need to understand your financials. So this is another foundational area. And when I talk about financials, I don't want you to be an accountant. You don't need to know it in that detail. What you need to know, though, is how to read a profit and loss statement. So what do all the numbers mean? You need to know how to do a cash flow forecast. And a cash flow forecast is a bit like the fuel in your car, and the P&L or the profit and loss statement is a bit like the speedo. And I always ask people, if your dashboard stopped working in your car, would you keep driving and not worry about it? Or would you pull over and try and get it fixed? And I know what the answer is. And so the same thing applies to your business. Would you just keep driving without looking at the dashboard, or would you like to get your dashboard fixed? Well, unfortunately, so many of you are driving your business without the dashboard working, right? So if that's you, you need to make sure you have a cash flow forecast for the next 90 days. How much money is going to be in my bank for the next 90 days? Because that'll tell me whether or not I need to get more sales, or need to raise more capital, or draw down more money out of my line of credit, or whatever it might be. If I need more money, where am I going to get it from? The second thing you need to be looking at your profit and loss statements on a monthly basis, and you need to make sure they're set up as management reports. Okay, accountants, and no disrespect to any accountants that may watch this, but accountants are doing your books for compliance and historical reporting. What we want to do is we want to use them to manage the business moving forward. So you want to set your P&L up, or your profit and loss statement, in such a way that when you look at it, it makes sense to you. So you can see what products or services are selling the most, which ones are giving you the most profit. You want to know where your money's going, what expenses are going up or going down, and why. You need to be able to ask these questions. Once you've got those two things in place, you can then look at these other three areas of financial foundation. One is budgeting. So budgeting is essentially you forecasting what your profit and loss statement is going to look like. So a lot of people think about a budget as if I'm budgeting for how much I'm going to spend. A budget is much more than that. A budget is more about working out how much profit you're going to make each month and how you're going to make it happen. And so once you've got your profit and loss statement set up properly, you can actually create budgets that make sense, that will drive your business in the right direction. The next area of financial foundation that we need to be really good at is understanding our break-even point, and our budget will tell us that. Our budget will allow us to be able to work out at what point do I actually start to make a profit. And a lot of people also think break-even is just when I'm covering my costs, and yes, I guess that is one way of explaining it. But really, I like you to think about your break-even point as the point at where you start to turn a profit, where you start to make money, because that's really what it's all about. And the fifth area of financial foundation that you need to have a good handle on is understanding your balance sheet. Now, your balance sheet really is the scorecard. Okay, so every year you're going to look at that, and it's going to tell you, if your business is improving or not. And that's a bit more of a complex report to understand and read, and it usually doesn't make sense until the accountant has sprinkled their magic dust on it at the end of the year. So you don't want to be looking at that, stressing out too much, but you do need to understand how the budget, how the P&L, the cash flow forecast, and the balance sheet all interact together. I call it the Bermuda Triangle of finance for small business owners, because that's where most people get lost. But if you can understand those three things, it can really help you control your business in a much better way. So just to reiterate, being good at what you do is not enough. You do need to know your numbers, very important. So that's the financial side of your business. The third thing is then planning. So, if you were going to climb a mountain, in particular, let's say Mount Everest, how much time would you spend planning before you actually left to go on that journey? Put in the chat box for me, how much time would you spend planning before you went to go on that journey? How many years would it be? Or how many months? Or how many would it be minutes? I don't know. I know if it was me, I'd probably spend at least 12 months, if not 2 years, doing research and planning. But some people, might spend less time or more time. I don't know, but I'm sure you'd spend some time planning that journey. And the reason is because you could die if you don't get it right climbing Mount Everest. Well, the funny thing is with a business, I see so many people that don't spend time at all planning their business or their life. In fact, they spend more time planning their weekends away to dinner and their nights out than they do planning their business. And so you have to have a very good, solid plan. Now, I'm not talking about a thick business plan. What I'm talking about is an action plan. So what is it you're going to do? How are you going to get it done? What resources do you need? And then how are you going to track your progress? So, you want to be very clear about, what your goals are for the year and then how you're going to achieve each of those things. Because if you don't have a plan, I think you've probably heard this saying, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. You do need to have a plan. You need to know. And now is a good time, right? We're right at the end of this this calendar year, 2021. Thank goodness. We'll put it behind us. And hopefully 2022 will be a much better year for most of us, right? But you need to spend some time now planning what is that going to look like. So my challenge to you, if you do nothing else after this webinar, is to write down your 2022 goals. What are you going to achieve? And be very, very specific, right? So don't just say, I'm going to increase my sales, I'm going to have more time off. Write down exactly what you're going to do specifically so you can then measure your success. If you were going to climb Mount Everest, you would know how many kilometers or meters a day you needed to climb over a period of time to get to the top. And mountain is a very good example of having specific criteria, because when you're at the top, you can't go any further. So in your business, you want to be able to create that summit so when you've arrived. So is it sales? Is it profit? Is it size of team, product diversity, number of customers? Pick the numbers that you're going to track and put those into your plan, and then set goals for each of those for the end of each quarter. So do some 12-month goals, break it down into 9-month, 6-month, and then 3-month. And then you work on those each quarter, making sure you're achieving those goals. Vitally important. This will then lead to you managing your time better. Well, in fact, I want to dispel a myth. You can't manage time. A lot of people, there's all these time management courses out there. It's impossible. What you have to do is you have to learn to manage yourself. Okay. And so, there's a great book by Stephen Covey. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But in that book, he talks about where people invest their time. And a lot of people invest their time in areas where they're trading their time for money. And this is the challenge with being self-employed. If you're trading your time for money, then that is limited. You're limited by 2 things. You're limited by how much someone is prepared to pay you per hour, but you're also limited by how many hours you've got available to work. So if you're going to trade your time for money, you're limiting your income. As where in a business, when you own a business, you've got the ability to make money. So you go from earning money to making money. And the difference is that is unlimited, right? So you can hire people that trade their time for money. You pay them to do the job and you make money on them. You make a profit. Okay. And so this is the essence of building a great business. Now, a wise man once told me, you spend all your money, you can always make some more, but spend your time and it's gone forever, right? So if you're investing your time in the wrong areas, you could be wasting a lot of your time and you could be working on more profitable areas of your business. I'll give you an example. Do you do anything like do you do your own bookkeeping? I find a lot of business owners do their own bookkeeping. Well, if the answer is yes, and you're not a bookkeeper, even if you are, but you own a bookkeeping business, I'd say, why are you doing your own bookkeeping? You can hire a good bookkeeper for what, $50, $60 an hour, maybe less, maybe a bit more, I don't know. And I can guarantee that if you're not good at it, it will take you 2 to 3 times longer than it will take a good bookkeeper. So the irony of it is you're doing something to save money, but it's actually costing you money. The problem is you can't see it. And so I want to challenge you. Remember, I was talking about breaking some bad habits. I want to challenge you today to think about what is it you're doing that you think you're doing to save money, but it's actually costing you money because it's taking you longer than it should, or you could be doing something else during that particular time that would be more profitable or beneficial to your business. It's a habit you have to break. And so what is the actual habit? Well, the habit is that you value your money more than you value your time. Okay, that's the habit you have to break. I'll say that again. You value your money more than you value your time. And I know this because you will do things to save money that take you longer than if you paid somebody else to do it. So in that example of the bookkeeper, let's say you paid them $60 an hour and it took them 1 hour to do what would take you 3 hours. Well, the reality is you could buy 3 hours of your week back with $60. And those 3 hours you could use to go and get a new client or build a system in your business or recruit a new team member or train a new team member or whatever it might be. You could use those 3 hours in a much more productive way. Now, some people say, but Ben, I am a bookkeeper, so I do my own books. Well, even then, even if it was $60 an hour and you could do it in an hour, I reckon $60 is a small price to pay to get an hour back to go and get another client that might give you $3,000 a year, for example, right? So, you've got to invest your time in the right areas. And if you're going to do the work, then you're destined to do the work forever. Okay. If you can leverage yourself out of the work and pay somebody else to do it, then you'll be able to, at some stage, not be doing all the work in the business. You'll be working on the business. And that's where the key is to growing a great business. So you've really got to manage yourself, not manage your time, but manage yourself. Very, very important. All right, the next area of the foundation, and I reckon one of the real keys to success is setting KPIs and setting up your reporting. Now, I talked before about your car's dashboard. When you're driving along, do you know how many times you look at that? Do you reckon? I reckon you look at it more than you realize. And what you're doing is you're tracking your progress as you look down. And of course, we've now got a GPS also in the car that gives you, and a trip computer and all of these other things. They're all key performance indicators. And these are the things that help you succeed when you're deciding to go from A to B, okay? And so the same thing is true in business. Yet I see so many people don't set key performance indicators. Now, I'll give you some examples of what these could be. Very high level, number of leads. So how many leads did I generate this week, this month, this year, this quarter, whatever it might be? You need to set a goal of how many leads you're going to generate. And then you need to quantify or qualify what a lead looks like. Okay. So you might have a set of criteria that says this is a qualified lead, and you might say, I need 10 of those a month. Okay. If I need 10 of those a month, then you can start to measure it. And if you only get 8 this month, then you go, okay, well, how do I increase that up to 10? What else do I need to do? What other marketing activity? If the leads that you're generating aren't up to scratch because they're not qualified, then you can ask yourself, how do I get more qualified leads? But it's a KPI. So it's a way to measure your success. Another one would be sales. So total sales figure. Another one would be profit or gross profit. Cost of goods sold. What is my gross profitability would be another KPI. Maybe hours worked in versus on my business is a KPI. So if you are in the situation where you're currently trading your time because you're it, well, you would be setting yourself, I would be definitely, and it would be smart for you to set yourself a goal that says, I'm going to reduce the number of hours I work in the business. I'm going to reduce the number of hours that I trade my time for money. And so you need to measure that. You need to keep a diary and record how many hours you spend working in versus working on your business, and set that as a key performance indicator. It could be number of quotes done. It could be number of tenders that we've applied for. It could be billable hours versus actual hours of my team could be a key performance indicator. It could be number of units delivered, or it could be number of returns, if mistakes that we made, whatever. You've just got to set your business KPI dashboard up so each week you get a report that makes sense to you. And my rule when it comes to this is, imagine that you're sitting on some deserted island in the Pacific Ocean on holidays for 6 months, and you're getting this report sent to you every Monday morning from the previous week, and you've got to be able to use that to make decisions. What do you want on that report? That's what you've got to set up, because it is the key to success. You've probably heard this saying before: you cannot manage what you do not measure. And so by measuring things in your business, you'll be able to manage those things better. And the end result is you'll end up growing your business. So KPIs are a really, really important part of the foundations. Now that we've got the basic fundamentals set, and here's some questions to ask yourself before I move on. Have you got a cash flow forecast? If the answer is no, you need one. Do I understand my profit and loss statement? And is it set up so I can build my business? Question to ask yourself. Do I know my break-even point? And not a guesstimate. I'm talking about the actual number you start to make profit. How many units do I need to sell? How many dollars is it? Do I know that? Do I know those numbers? And if I don't know those numbers, then I need to do it. Do I have a plan? Do I have an action plan that tells me exactly what I've got to do each quarter for 2022? Does it tell me what resources I'm going to need? How long it's going to take? Do I have clear strategies set out for growing my business next year? If the answer is no, then you need to do it. Do I have control of my diary? Do I know where I'm investing my time? And do I have at least 20% of my time set aside for working on the business? Because if you're not working on the business, Who is, right? So you need to have some of your time set aside. Do I have my KPIs nutted out? So do I know what I need to measure? What are the key drivers of my business? Is it sales, conversion rate, average dollar sale, number of units, number of quotes, number of leads, number of hours, billable hours? What am I going to track? Okay, I need to get that down pat. Do I have that all nutted out? Do I have a default diary? So have I got time set aside in my diary for the things that are important but not urgent? Okay, because if you don't, then you need to put those in your diary now. So things like reviewing your plan on a weekly basis. Even if it's just you, have a weekly management meeting with yourself. Go through the report, go through the dashboard, work on the 90-day plan. What do I need to implement? What do I need to get done? Okay, really important. So there's some questions you can be asking yourself about the foundation level. And there's probably a lot of work for you to do right there that you haven't done yet. Okay, but there's some things that you need to do. So hopefully you've been writing those things down. Now, the next step is to work on the growth aspect of your business, which is fine-tuning your marketing, your sales process, and the operations to maximize profitability. Sure, in the beginning, you've probably been doing some sales. Of course you have been, right? You had to survive. But this next stage is really working on fine-tuning it. And I always say, people come to me and they say, I need your help. And I go, what do you want help with? And they go, oh, Ben, I want to get more sales. I go, great. Why do you want more sales? Oh, well, I need to earn more money. And I go, okay, well, let's have a look at what you're currently doing. And I quite often find their margins aren't great, or their sales process is really clunky or unpredictable, or their marketing's not working really that well, and they're attracting the wrong quality of lead. And I go, well, if all we do is increase your marketing to generate more leads, you're going to go broke quicker. And so, that's why the foundation part is so important before you move on to the growth. But most of us start in the growth because we think that's what we need to do to build a great business, is just work on growing it. But all you do is get busier making bigger fires that you're going to have to put out, right? So what I'd rather do, get the foundations right. So when we work on the growth, we're not putting out bigger fires. So let's talk about what's in growth now. All right. So I've talked a fair bit about generating qualified leads. There's no doubt that if you want to succeed in business, the leads that you generate need to be qualified. Now, what does this mean? Well, I see a lot of people wasting time talking to talking to people in business, or even consumers that are not qualified, that aren't ready to buy. They're tire kickers, or they don't have any money. So you've got to have a system in your lead generation process that makes sure that when you're talking to somebody face to face, burning that time, that person you're talking to can actually buy from you. And this is why some people get offended, though, when you ask these questions, but you've got to ask the questions. Why now? Why me? Have you thought about what you're going to invest to make this happen? And have the confidence, be open and upfront with people about it. They know you're not there to just have coffee and a chit chat. They know they've made an inquiry. You need to be open and honest with them about, what they need to be prepared, what they might need to invest, and if there needs to be other decision makers at the meetings or be involved, then you need to make sure they're involved. Okay. So your sales process needs to make sure that it's fine-tuned. So when you're generating leads, you're really clear about who your ideal customer is and that you're generating qualified leads. Your marketing has to do that. So important. Makes your life so much easier. The second part of growth is then creating a point of difference, or what's called a unique selling proposition. What makes you different from the competition? And you can't compete on price, right? Price competition is a race, and it's a race to the bottom. And in fact, I'll demonstrate this to you with price. Here's how the psychology of pricing goes. Let's say you needed to get root canal. I've just recently had one. I don't know if you know how much root canal is, but it's a couple of $1,000s. So let's say that you needed a root canal and you rang around all the local dentists, and there was one that had a sale on root canal, and their sale price was $14.95. Now, what are you thinking about that particular dentist at this point in time? $14.95 for root canal. That's just amazing. No, you're thinking, my God, what are they going to do to me? $14.95 sounds too good to be true. They're probably going to hurt me, probably not going to do a good job. And what dentist has a sale anyway? It doesn't happen. However, you ring around, you find another dentist and they're charging $4,000 for root canal. And you say to yourself, well, they must be good. Okay. If they can charge that much, they must be good. Okay. So psychology is that with pricing is something where we evaluate the price and compare it to the value that we're receiving. And we assume if it's more expensive, it must be more valuable. It's the way the human brain works. So you don't want to be the cheapest, because cheap is cheap and you got it, nasty. is where when it's a high value or more expensive, it's deemed to be a more prestigious or more valuable product or service. So you want to be pricing yourself at a point where you're increasing the value. So when it comes to a point of difference, you've got to work out, how do I make it so I can take their eyes off the price? So if people are saying to you, oh, but I can get it cheaper over there, what they're saying to you is, I don't see how you're any different to them. So you need to listen to that. If somebody keeps saying, yeah, I can get it cheaper over here, then you're not communicating your point of difference. You might be different, but you're not communicating it. So part of growth is working out, how do I communicate my point of difference, my unique proposition to my prospect, so they understand why I charge more and they're willing then to pay me more. And now a classic example, if we look at cars, you can buy a car for $25,000. You can buy a car for $250,000. Both of those cars have to do the speed limit. Both of those cars will, have a motor. They'll take you from A to B. They'll have tires. They're all very similar. Yet one can be 10 times the price of the other, and people will buy it. Sure, not as many people buy it, but people will buy it. So you got to work out, where do you want to position yourself, and then make sure you're very clear about what your point of difference is. Is it a guarantee? Is it the service that you offer? Is it the reputation that you have? Is it some unique product that you have? What is your point of difference? Got to be really clear about that. You got to be good at demonstrating it and telling people about it. Third thing in growth is to develop a sales process. Now, the reason why I don't start people with this when they're first kicking off, it's important, but if you haven't got it done, get the foundational stuff done first, because you won't need to document your sales process completely until you're ready to hire somebody. The reason why so many people fail when they hire a salesperson is they don't have a documented sales process. And they think that a salesperson can just come along and be as passionate about your product as you are, or your service, and sell it. Not the fact. What you need to do is you need to give them a step-by-step system that guarantees they'll get the sale. And it has to take people through a process of reducing their resistance and increasing their desire to buy from you. A salesperson is not going to be able to do that. Salespeople are very good at building relationships, building rapport, and asking questions and influencing people, but they're not great at creating systems. So you need to give them the system and say, use this system. It's a bit like McDonald's. The kids that work in McDonald's probably would not be able to make a great hamburger. Well, McDonald's can't anyway, but they've got a system to follow. They probably wouldn't be great at working in there if it wasn't for all the systems. And I'll say the same thing to you about salespeople. If you're going to hire a salesperson and you want them to succeed, give them more than just a chair and a phone. Give them training and a system to follow of how to get a sale in your business. And you should know how to do it because you started it. You started the business and you were the one that got the first sale. So you need to document what it is that you do. So do you do a visit? Do you do a quote? What questions do you ask? What objections do you get? How do you overcome those objections? All of these different things need to be documented so you can train a salesperson. So your sales process has to be developed so it's easy for someone to follow and then tweaked. So do you send testimonials? Do you send some information before the meeting? Do you, what questions? Do you have a set of questions that you always ask? Whatever it might be, you have to fully document it so you can train other people to do it. If you're truly going to build a business that doesn't rely on you, you can't be the one doing the sales. You need a sales team. So you've got to build a sales process. Without a doubt, you have to have it. The next area of growth that's really important is having a system for getting your customers to come back. Now, over my years of doing this and being involved in marketing in particular, I've seen a lot of studies done. And one of the ones that stuck out to me is that it's 6 times easier and 6 times cheaper to get an existing customer to come back than it is to get a new one. Yet 80% of businesses focus their time and energy on getting new customers. Kind of crazy when you think about it. And then they say that 68% of customers leave because of what's called perceived indifference, right? Because you thought you're doing a great job and they thought that, what you were delivering wasn't good enough. So if you know these things, then part of what you need to be working on is, how do I get my customers to keep coming back? How do I communicate everything that I have available to encourage them to come back? How do I, interact with them on a regular basis? Do I do newsletters? Do we do follow-up calls? Do we have SMS strategies? Do we have, Facebook marketing? Do we have, are we building our database? Do we have events like this webinar, for example, where customers can come and learn more about the products that we sell or the services that we offer? What are you doing to get your existing customers back, because once you've got the customer, it is much easier to get them to buy from you again than it is to get a new one. So really important to have processes for that. And then this one is another biggie, which is get your customers spending more each time they do transact with you. So, what strategies have you got in place to increase your average dollar sale? How do you go about, have you got checklists in place? Have you got like the upsell, like McDonald's say, would you like to upsize? Well, only 3 out of 10 people say yes, but that makes them $22 million a day in the United States alone. One question. So in your business, what are you asking to get your customers to buy more from you? What other products or services can you bolt on? Can you add on? Can you do package deals? Can you do bulk deals? How do you get them spending more each time they transact with you? And that's another great way to increase the revenue of your business. And once again, it needs to be systemized so it happens without you having to think about it. All right, so that's the first 2 stages. So let's summarize growth now. So growth is about creating your point of difference, so you're not competing on price. And so if you don't have that properly done, then that's a good place to start. You need to document what a qualified leads look like and have a marketing plan so you can consistently generate qualified leads. And that would then feed into your sales team, which may be you right now, but then you can have a good sales process documented so you can then hire salespeople, saves you having to do that work ongoing. You can hire salespeople that can use your sales system. You then need a process for getting existing customers to come back and getting them spending more each time that they do. So that's your foundation sorted and your growth sorted. Now, once you've got that amazing cash flow coming into your business and your business is super profitable, the next step, the third step, is then to start to reinvest some of that money in your business to automate all the repetitive tasks. So what happens is, as a business grows, the reason why it relies on you is because you're having to do a lot of the work when you could be automating it, when you could find tools or systems and automate the process. So you want to automate repetitive tasks by developing systems, and then your people run your systems run your business, and then your business looks after your customers. That's the way to think about it. And McDonald's is just such a good example. I know I bring them up a fair bit, but that's a store that is run by teenagers that you can't get to clean up their bedrooms, right? That store is run by 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. They're serving millions and millions of dollars worth of food every single day of the year. And it's because of the great systems that they have. So let's talk a little bit about what systems do for your business. So the first of all, you want to identify all the things that happen on a repeating basis in your business. Is it posting product out? Is it answering the phone? Is it greeting a customer at the counter? Is it delivering something? Is it installing something? Whatever it might be. If you look at McDonald's as an example, they would make a lot of Big Macs over and over again. They're cooking fries over and over again. They're taking customer orders over and over again. So they've systemized it all. So in your business, what are all the repetitive tasks that are getting done over and over again and are always going to be done that you can systemize? Is it delivering your product? Is it installing your product? Is it answering the phone? Even like an incoming phone script. If the phone rings more than once, then it should be systemized. What am I supposed to say when I pick it up if I work for you? Okay, so systemize all the repetitive tasks. Very, very important. Now, when you do this, this is a big part of the business not relying on you having to be there, because once you've systemized things, you can then reduce your risk of delegating work out. Because one of the biggest challenges for small business owners is when they delegate something to somebody else, is they're worried about how it's going to be done. Now, the only reason you would have to worry about that is if you didn't have your instruction manual on how you wanted that thing done. If you knew that they had a system to follow, all you had to do now was hire a person that could follow the system. Right? That's all you needed. Now, yep, they might need some certain skills to do that, but that's all you need. And when you decide on moving somebody on, it's because they can't follow the system. It's because they're not willing to do what it is you need them to do. I always say it's a bit like buying a machine. Like if you were going to buy a machine, let's say you had a bottling business, and your business put liquids into bottles and put lids on them. And you bought a bottling machine that was supposed to do 100 bottles an hour, and it only did 80 bottles an hour because it didn't feel like doing 100. Well, you probably would ring up and complain to the bottle machine salesperson, the bottle packaging machine salesperson. You'd say, my machine doesn't work as effectively if you said it was going. So you got to treat people that you employ the same way, that you give them a set of KPIs. So first of all, that's the first thing, is make sure that when you delegate something, that you're very clear about what the outcomes are meant to be. Gone are the days where we just want people to work 8 hours or 10 hours, whatever it might be. Don't look for how many hours somebody works. Look for what do they actually do in the time that they work. It's more about output. Okay. I don't care about how many hours someone works. I want them to get a job done. So each job should have a clearly defined role and KPIs for that job as well. So you can delegate to them with confidence, and then you give them the systems and say, here's how you're going to achieve those KPIs. Just do this, 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 and this. Can you do that? Great. Get that done. And it allows you then to be able to measure that person's performance. So you can really gives you confidence to delegate. And you gain control. You probably have more control than you realize once this happens. And a lot of people don't grow their business because they're worried about losing control. Because if I hire people, they're not going to do the same job. Oh, my customers want to talk to me. Well, the reason the customers want to talk to you is because you know what to do because you've got it in your head. But if you document it and train other people to do the same thing, your customers will want to deal with them. Look at my business coaching business. I don't coach anymore. Very rarely do I coach anybody. And I've got dozens and dozens of clients. Some of them I've never met or spoken to. Well, that's okay. I don't need to because I've got a great system for delivering results. The next thing by doing this systemization is you'll create efficiency. So one of the biggest costs in a business is errors, like an inefficiency. So I'll give an example. I've worked a lot with manufacturers, and something might get done incorrectly because they misread something in a plan, or the machine might not be set up properly to cut something out. If it's like a CNC machine, something might get damaged because somebody incorrectly uses a forklift. All of these errors cost money. And really, we're in business to make money. The idea is we need to be profitable so we can pay our team, pay our suppliers, but of course, pay ourselves. So you want to make sure that your business is nice and profitable. Systems create efficiency and reduce the errors. Really, really cool side effect of systems. And they also improve consistency. And consistency does a couple of things. It breeds confidence in your consumers. This is why McDonald's is so popular, because you know what you're going to get. It may not be the best hamburger on the planet, but you know exactly what you're going to get. And because of that, you'll go back there. You'll know that you can go back there with confidence as a consumer. The second thing is it creates consistency for your business as well. Your team get consistency. They know that they can do X, Y, Z, and their output's going to be consistent, and it's rewarding. So it creates consistency throughout the whole business. So systems are so important if you want to build a business that doesn't rely on you being there. The other big added benefit, and a lot of people don't think about this, but or maybe you're not even thinking of selling your business, but let's pretend you had to. Would it sell for more if you could demonstrate to the buyer that your business was completely systemized and it didn't rely on the buyer having to work in the business? Would it sell for more? The answer is yes, of course it would. And this is why McDonald's stores sell for so much more than any other hamburger shop on the planet, because the buyer knows they don't have to work in the business. So how do you create the same in your business? Well, you systemize it. You create those efficiencies and you make it so it doesn't rely on you having to be there. And all of a sudden the value of your business skyrockets because investors will now buy it. Other businesses might acquire it because they already know that they can just pick up your customer base, your systems, and they can grow their own business. So really, really important. Increases the value of your business. All right. So to summarize, optimize. So we looked at foundation, we've done growth. Now we've done optimize, which was the third stage. It was all about automating repetitive tasks, building systems so you can gain control and delegate with confidence. It's going to make your business more efficient. It's going to make you more consistent, and it's going to increase the value of your business. So systemization comes after growth, because once we've got foundation and growth done, we've got consistent marketing, delivers consistent sales and profitability. We can now reinvest that in whether it's equipment or software or training or even hiring a specialist to come in and build our systems, whatever it might be. But that's what you want to do, is build those systems. This leads to step 4 of the blueprint, which is then transition. Now, it's at this point where you go from working in to working on, because you're going to recruit and groom leaders within your organization. So you might have people that already work for you that could become leadership team, become managers, or you might have to hire people in with the relevant experience. But either way, you can't be the one doing the work if your business is going to be able to run without you having to be there. So you're going to have to, now that you've got all the systems set up, now that you've got the processes, the team are all working like a well-oiled machine, and you're managing it, what you want to do is transition out of being the manager and hire somebody else to be that manager. So yeah, you have to recruit and groom great leaders within your organization. Very important. So you go from working, so you work on rather than work in. So before you're working in your business, now we want a majority of our time working on the business. And this is where we're really going to start pulling those levers to fine tune what's going on. We're looking at the KPIs. We spend much more time looking at each area of the business, those 4 areas I ran through before: lead generation, sales, operations, and finance and business. We can go through those areas in more detail, working on the business, fine tuning each thing, and really maximizing our profitability as we go through from working into working on. You'll really fine tune your management reporting and accountability. So you've got to hold your team accountable now to the same things that you were accountable for. Things like profitability, getting the budgets done, doing the cash flow forecast, doing, team recruitment, KPIs, making sure that they're all on track, managing systems, making sure all the equipment's working. They've got to be accountable for that now. You need to develop as a leader. What books are you reading? What courses are you doing? How are you making sure that you are a very strong leader and that people are inspired by your vision and they want to keep growing your business and work harder than you do? Okay, that's really the key to leadership, is building a team of people that work harder than you do. And once you've got that, you know that you've really learned leadership and that you've been able to really inspire and enroll the right people in your team. So important. So you'll develop as a leader. And a lot of people think, he's a born leader. She's a born leader. Not true. Leaders aren't born, they're developed, and you can develop your leadership skill. You just need to read a lot of books, go to a lot of courses, and practice different things. Understanding people is really the key to leadership. So, read as many books as you can on leadership, do as many courses as you can on leadership. You also need to learn to coach your team, bringing the best out of them. Every single person, doesn't matter about how good they are already, that everyone could do with a bit of coaching. Everyone could do with, being with the best being brought out of them. And that's what coaching is all about. So a great leader learns how to coach their team, learns how to help them through any hurdles, corrects them, when they need, corrects them, rewards them when they need a pat on the back, and identifies with them, when they're struggling, and be there by their side when they need that help. So great leaders coach their teams through the highs and the lows. So you've got to become a great coach. So that's the transition. Now, the fifth level is diversifying. I see so many people jumping into this way too early, which is where you might go into other products or services. If you're in business and you haven't mastered all those other things, let me just go back a slide for a tick. If you haven't mastered these previous 4 stages: foundation, growth, optimize, and transition, it is not the time to be opening up new outlets or getting another business or acquiring or merging with another business or bringing in new product ranges, unless it's very well strategically thought through. Because until you're good at what you currently do, if you just bolt more things on, all you're going to do is make your problems bigger. Okay, you're going to have bigger fires to put out. So if your business is already consuming your time, is already making you stressed, if you're struggling to manage your cash flow, if you're not generating qualified leads, you start adding more to that problem, it's putting fuel on the fire. You don't want to be doing that. So get all this other stuff done first before you diversify. Diversify is the 5th stage. So let's have a look at what is in diversify. Because once you've got a business that doesn't rely on you having to be there, this is where real wealth is made. And if you look at the wealthiest entrepreneurs on the planet, they've got businesses that work without them being there. Look at someone like Richard Branson. He doesn't fly airplanes. He doesn't work in the record stores. He doesn't do, he's not in the credit card company. He's the visionary for the whole company. He's got all those 4 stages and he's hit diversify. And once you've hit there, you can consistently and continually keep diversifying, because you've learned the secret to building great teams. So yes, it's mergers and acquisitions. Maybe it's buying more businesses or merging with other businesses to grow your portfolio. Could be new products or services. So maybe you spend some time, importing or developing new products or services, introducing new things to your business. That's a great way, by the way, to increase your average dollar spend or number of transactions with your customers, is by having other things for them to buy. That's why I have a digital marketing business as well. A lot of my coaching clients also use my digital marketing business. So it's a way to increase my average dollar spend with those people. The other way to diversify your business is maybe you could franchise. Maybe if you've got a model that is so well systemized, you could sell it over and over again to many people. Depending on what industry you're in, it can work really, really well. So that's a good way to do it. Open more outlets. If your business is a shop front or is restricted by geographic location, then if it's completely systemized and doesn't rely on you being there, you could open another one, maybe 50 kilometers away and just deploy all the same systems and processes there, hire some great people, and away you go. You've just doubled the size of your business by creating a second branch. Very popular way to grow a business. Once again, only works well if the one that you've got currently is completely systemized and ready to be leveraged off of. You can invest in other businesses. So a great way to diversify is to take some of your cash flow and put it into buying a shareholding in another company that you don't work in, okay, but you'll get dividends from. Now, whether that's just a privately held business or whether it's on the stock market, like a shareholding, up to you. But it's a great way to be able to generate more income. And I think just anybody who's doing really well in business and got a good cash flow coming out of their current business should be reinvesting some of that cash in future wealth strategies. And that's another great way to do it. Another one is then personal wealth strategy. So maybe it's property investing. Could you buy some investment properties is another great one. Maybe putting money into your superannuation, whatever. Take that cash flow and turn it into more money. It's what it's all. That's how you make more money, is by leveraging off the money that you've got. Alrighty, so there you go. So there's the 5 stages: foundation, growth, optimize, transition, and diversify. You really do need to follow them in those stages, and they will help you build a business that doesn't rely on you being there. One of the things that I have learned, and I want to make sure I'm clear with you, because maybe one of your habits, remember at the beginning I said we're going to break some bad habits. Maybe one of your habits is that you do a lot of training. Maybe you come to a lot of webinars. I see a lot of the same names sometimes on these events. Well, I want to tell you that information alone won't get you there. So it's very easy to come to webinars or go to seminars, but without taking action, you're not going to get any results. So I want to just give you the opportunity to work out how to start to implement some of these things. Once you've got the knowledge, how do you go about doing it? So the first thing I like to ask people is, if you've got a degree, how long did it take you to get that degree or qualification? And, sometimes it depends on the qualification. Some qualifications can take years and years and years. But then I like to think, how long does it take you actually to start a business? Well, actually it doesn't. You don't even need a clever business name. Anybody can start a business. You just need to pay your money, register the business. Well, you don't even need to do that if you're going to trade under your name. So it's easy to start a business, but very hard just to get a profession. Now, the reason why I ask this is because to become a professional in something, let's say you're going to become a doctor, might take you 10 years of training just to be a doctor. To be a business owner takes you 1 minute. And the problem is there's so many more skills required than one of those specialist things. So, the fact that there is no requirement for you to have an education means that you're not forced to graduate. And I think you need to graduate. So have you graduated? Have you got the knowledge you need to build an amazing business? And if the answer is no, then you need to learn. You don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. So you need to learn. You are your biggest limiting factor. Okay, the reason you're not where you want to be is because you don't know how to go past this point. You need to identify with that. You need to really own that and go, well, if I don't know how to take my business to the next level, then I need to learn it. I need to find someone who can teach me how to get past this point and to grow my business. You are your biggest limiting factor. Now, how do we help you? We have business acceleration programs from as little as $10 per day. And we help you go from working in to working on. You've seen the model. We've got over 1,000 tools and resources. We've got coaches. We've got programs. We will help you for as little as $10 a day to go from working in to working on your business. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. That's the crux of it. Information alone won't get you there. You can come to as many of these webinars as you want. You can go to seminars, you can read books, you can YouTube, you can do all of those things. But without somebody there holding you accountable and guiding you, it's going to take you a long time, right? You do need someone to help you to get there. Today is the greatest day to break your bad habits. If your bad habit is that you do nothing, you get busy, you're putting out fires, you work in your business instead of on it, then today's a great day to break those habits. I told you that's what one of my goals was today, was really get you thinking about, if I want to be successful, I'm going to have to break these bad habits. I'm going to have to do something different, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. All right. So you got to break those bad habits. I'm just going to show you a few reviews so you can sort of get a feel for who we are and what we do. And then I'm going to invite you to book a time in my diary to have a chat for half an hour. And there's zero obligation, right? I'm a big one on not making it so you have to, feel like you're obligated to do anything. These calls are just for us to have a chat. But I want you to know, if you do book a call to chat with me, we are going to talk about whether or not you're a good fit. And if you are, I'm going to show you what programs we have available and help you get started. Okay. So you need to be ready for coaching. You need to be coachable. You need to be ready for change. You need to be ready to build a business that doesn't rely on you being there. So let's have a look at some of these reviews. Rosie, you can see here, increased her profits by $6,500 per month from one strategy that she implemented with her coach. $6,500 per month. Do you think that paid for the program that she was on? Absolutely. We don't even have a program that costs that much. So there you go. Darren said, I was hesitant to hand over the dollars on what essentially an unknown. Nearly 3 years later, I can say every dollar is well spent. I have much bigger turnover, higher net profit, and more time to myself. Right? So if you want more sales, more profit, and more time to yourself, then that's what we help you do. That's what we're all about. Matt Kitchen, working with a business coach for Max Profit has been one of the best things I've done for my business. I have several other coaches before. These guys are a step above the others. Thanks, Matt. He said, I've seen a significant increase in sales and now have a business that can run itself, and the coaching program paid for itself many times over. How good's that? Right. So, once again, you can say, I can tell you how good we are, but that's bragging. If these people tell you how good we are, that's an endorsement. So you go and look at all the other reviews on our website. You'll see them. Here's another 5-star review. I won't read it out. You can read it. But once again, go and read all of our reviews. If you're hesitant to just book a time with me, go and read my reviews. I've been doing this for 20 years. Go and Google my name. You'll find nothing about me that's bad on the internet. And the internet is where it's all at if somebody's done something wrong, let me tell you. I'm all about helping you build the business you imagine. That's our vision, helping you build the business you imagined. If you imagined a business that was more profitable, more fun, then that's what we're here to do. We'll help you with that. So here's a quote by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, if you haven't heard of Robert Kiyosaki, he's very well known for this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'll just finish up on this because a lot of people buy liabilities, like things that lose money over time, like cars and boats and stuff. And not a lot of people put their money into things that turn into more money. Well, let me tell you that anytime you invest in your business, it should give you a return on investment. And coaching is definitely one of those things. When you invest money with us, we are now going to help you to grow your business. Okay. It's an investment. It turns into more money. Okay. So it's a smart investment. So he said, poor people buy liabilities. They buy things where you put money in and then the money disappears. He said, rich people put their money into investments, things that actually turn into more money. Okay. So you can choose who you are. What would you do if your business relied less on you having to be there? Well, I know for me, I spend a lot of time scuba diving, going to the beach. I live near the water. My business is 2 hours away. I don't go into the office. I work from home. Could you build a business that doesn't rely on you having to be there? Well, I'm pretty sure you could. If you want to find out more, here's how you go about doing it. I'll get Kirsten just to put that link into the chat box. But essentially, if you go to calendly.com/meetben/discovery, the link is in the chat box. Click on that link and you can book yourself a time. There's not a lot of time left before Christmas, but there's a bit of time in January. Feel free to book that 30-minute call and I will have a chat with you one-on-one about where you're at and whether or not I can help you. And like I said, there's zero obligation to buy anything, but come prepared to know that if there is a good fit, I'm going to help you get started. All righty. Any questions, comments, or anything before we wrap up? Hopefully you enjoyed today's presentation. Now, if you're watching the recording, by the way, that link should still also be live. I'll just move my head over a little bit so you can see it there. calendly.com/meetben/discovery, or you can just head across to maxmyprofit.com.au and you'll be able to get something from there to be able to contact us and say, I watched this webinar and I'd like to talk to somebody about getting some help to grow my business.